toilet, but no mai harawai. Kei me hoti ia koe ka tukunu taraka.
Kia ora.
In case I need to. Tēnā koutou katoa. I whānau mai ahau ki rotorua nei. I raro i te maru o Ngongataha Maunga. He uri ahau Portugal, nor Denmark, nor Scotland, nor England, hoki. Ko rotorua tōku kāinga, ko Julianne Wilkinson ahau. So that was my very short pepeha, and it was just telling you a bit about myself. And what I told you was that I was born and raised in Rotorua, and this is me. Aren't I cute? Just wanted to show you my lovely bowl haircut from the 1970s. I was born and raised under the shelter of Mount Ngongataha. And I descend from Denmark, Portugal, Scotland, and England, and I'd like to say I've been there, but I haven't been to any of those places and they look really lovely, so I've decided I'd love to go one day. And my home is Rotorua. My name is Julianne Wilkinson. Ko whetu rehia Tupunuku. I'm the Recreation Open Spaces Manager at Council, and I look after a really cool bunch of people who are committed to contributing to the health and well-being of our community. Now, we do that by creating and caring for places and spaces to play. This is out at Lake Rotorua. We nurture active, healthy and connected communities. And we provide opportunities to connect people to their environment and to each other through developing relationships and partnerships. But of course, I'm not here today to talk to you about parks and reserves and playgrounds and sports fields and gardens, although I could talk all day on those. Instead, I was given a challenge, a whetu, a Matariki whetu. I was asked to research and talk about one of the whetu, or stars, of Matariki. I was asked to be a Tauira, a student, and then present what I'd learned. But I felt that before I could learn about my star, I'm calling her my star, I needed to learn about her origin and her whānau. So, this is Matariki, right on the left there. It is a cluster of stars in the constellation of Taurus. It's about 440 light years away from Earth. It's best seen and observed in the morning before the rising of the sun. Matariki is a cluster of 9 stars that are part of a larger cluster of thousands of stars. 7 of those stars can most easily be seen by the naked eye, which is why some consider Matariki to be made up of 7 stars. Now, around the world, the cluster of stars we know as Matariki is known by many, many different names. Most well known is Pleiades, or M45 if you're into astrology. Pleiades in Greek mythology, like Matariki in Māori mythology, has a wonderful story of how they originated, and I really, really like it. This story, of course, differs between iwi and hapu, but the one I like refers to Matariki as the eyes of God. So I don't know how much you know, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. This is when Ranganui, the Sky Father, and Tupunuku, the Earth Mother, were separated by their son Tane Mahuta, the god of the forest. Another son, Tawhiri Mātia, the god of the wind, was suitably upset with his brother, and in a rage he fought with all of the other gods. Ultimately, he lost his battle to Tupuānuku, the god of war and humanity. As he fled skywards, he plucked out his eyes and he crushed them and he threw them into the sky. They stuck to Ranginui, his father's chest. So Matariki is a shortened version of Te Mata o Ariki, the eyes of God. Now, for thousands of years, our ancestors all around the globe have used the stars as a guide for navigation, including Matariki or Pleiades constellation. Matariki is visible almost all year round, except for a short period in May or June when it seems to disappear or set. Then reappears or rises again in late June or July, which marks the start of the new year. And I love this little painting. It's not very clear, but I thought it was cute. Now, the date of its rising of Matariki is predicted using the lunar calendar that is aligned to the phases of the moon, which is known as Maramataka. Collectively, the sun's position, Maramataka, and the various stars underpinned by Matariki set out the new year and the cycle for the year, so the seasons, the months, and of course the days. Traditionally, Māori use this information to plan their daily way of life, including types and times of activity like gardening, fishing and hunting, times for hui and meetings, for celebrations, and even times to rest. This, along with close observation of the atua or gods, ancestors, relating to the environment, they were able to live lives in harmony with their world. Interpretation of Matariki differs around Aotearoa according to individual traditions and where the stars are positioned in the sky according to where people live. Some iwi cannot see Matariki from their rohi or their area. We can see Matariki in Rotorua, and the best time to see it is in the tangaroa phase of the moon, which is the area I've circled there, which is several days after the new moon. The first day of this phase is the first day of the Māori New Year, and that was yesterday. So, each of the stars in Matariki whānau have a unique role or a defined purpose as a guide. Today, I'm going to tell you about Tupunuku, who is at the bottom right there. Tupu means to grow. Nuku derives from Papatuanuku, the earth. So Tupunuku is connected to everything that grows in the ground. This is primarily related to food, but could be for medicine or rongonoa, or for anything growing that supports daily life. Tupunuku is the daughter of Rehua, the great god of the stars, lord of the stars. Her mother is Matariki. Together, when they both shine brightly, it means it will be an excellent year to grow and harvest crops. If Tupunuku was dull, then it will not be such a good year, and you would look at the other stars or her brothers and sisters for guidance on food from other sources such as the sea, the rivers and lakes, or the sky. At the same time though, you might want to take note of her sister, Waipunarangi, up the top there, who determines the amount of rain for the year. Will the crops get enough rain? Or will there be a drought? Likewise, will Ururangi, top centre, who determines the nature of the winds, influence the success of the crops? So all of the stars, brothers and sisters, are interlinked in Matariki. Historically, astronomy experts called tohunga kokorangi would observe the stars and make predictions for the new year. So, Tupunuku's realm are foods grown in the ground, such as yams, taro, and even the gourd. Bottom left there, which was eaten as a young fruit, with mature fruit hollowed out and used for storage. Tupunuku also refers to plants used for food that grow in the forest, such as horopito, kawakawa, ferns, and even fungi. Even a species of cabbage tree was used as food. Of course, kumara was a significant staple in the Māori diet, and actually I have to say it's a staple in my diet as well. Many of our protected pā sites around the country had been identified in part by evidence of kumara pits dug into the ground, which is the top right there. You can see the depressions. So, Matariki and maramataka were used to decide when to plant crops. If Tupuanuku shone brightly, a productive season lay ahead and planting would begin in September. If she is hazy and bunched together with her brothers and sisters, a cold winter was in store, so planting would be put off until October. The pending disappearance of Matariki in autumn was a signal to ensure crops were harvested and preserved before the winter arrived. Once this took place and the storehouses were full, and when Matariki reappeared in June or July, it was time to celebrate. A ceremonial feast called Hākari may have taken place. Food was stored in whata, elevated platforms, pātaka, storehouses, or rua kumara, underground storage pits. Matariki was a time to share food, to show gratitude to Tupuanuku and Matariki for the previous year's success, or to offer prayers for a better year to come. I often wondered why we celebrate New Year in January, other than an excuse for a really good party. I've learnt though that Matariki is not just about gazing at stars. The Matariki New Year is about being together, hospitality and sharing of food. It's about celebrating life and the lives of those who have passed. It's about taking note and respecting our environment. After learning about my whetu, or star, and Matariki, I've realised that I'm incredibly fortunate to go to the supermarket if my garden's a disaster. Today, my lifestyle means I don't need Tupuanuku really. Life is easy, right? But was the lack of weeding and care of my garden the only issue? Maybe I just didn't take notice of the environment around me, including the sky, to guide my planting for the year. Maybe Tupuanuku had shown me the way, and I just didn't take time to see her.
Oh, fine.
I like this. Matariki Ahunga Nui, the great mounds of Matariki as a whakatauki, refers to a time when kumara is stored in large piles and shared among the community. So, as I went through this, I discovered that Matariki and maramataka are incredibly fascinating. The legends and the stories, the tradition and the practical implications in the understanding of the stars and the moon. I have to say I went down many interesting and deep rabbit holes and spent a lot of time learning from Professor Rangi Matamua, reading his book, listening to his podcast and watching him on TV. I've even got his program on the Māori channel Beyond Matariki on Series Link because it hasn't finished yet. But as you can see, I marked a lot of pages that I found interesting and I'm going to go back and read them again, and I'm going to share this book with anyone in my team who wants to read it. So Rangi Matamua researches Māori astronomy and star lore. He also researches Māori culture and language. There he is in the top right. I reckon with that photo in the background I might have been a bit prettier, but he definitely knows way more than I do, so he was awesome. I also delved into a number of websites, including the Te Ara Encyclopedia and the Te Papa websites, which were my favourite, hence I went into lots of different rabbit holes. But I think my job as a tauira is not yet done. I need to learn more. The process has also raised some questions for me about my busy life, and I wonder how I can introduce the principles of Matariki and Maramataka into my daily life and my life at work. This process of learning and the celebrations of Matariki also remind me of the value of sharing. So in closing, I hope I have shared some new information and ideas with you. And I hope you appreciate Tupunuku for her guidance. And I'd also like to share some kai and some recipes with you that I discovered along this journey. Kia ora.
That's fine.
Kia ora tātou. Before I do our closing karakia, I'd like to say, Julianne, it was fabulous, and I accept the offer of that kai. Nā reira kia whakairihia ke te kōrero, kia wāte ai tuara kia tūruki whakatahai, kia tūruki whakatahai. Haumi e, hui e.
Tā ki
Great.
te ora. Yep, I'll move that